Okay, how's it going, everyone? Howdy, howdy. Welcome back for some more UFO 50 bingo recapping. Um, after try to do this on Tuesday, I was able to get a little bit farther ahead with some research. So thanks to everyone who's helped out with that. And also thanks to everyone who uploaded to YouTube after last episode, because I think almost every VOD is now on YouTube. And shockingly, YouTube's great for video playback. Who'd have thought? So, I am kind of half watching the Dom versus Winterbit match right now, because the B1 action is just lots of fun. But I also have a lot of recapping to do, so let's just go ahead and scroll up in my note doc. So, we typically have tried to do all of A tier, all of B tier, and all of C tier in one video, but I was having VOD issues towards the end of the last stream, so I'm going to try to catch up and do all of A and the rest of B tier that's actually finished their games and stuff. Because we have a couple of outstanding games that I think will kind of offset the A-tier games that we have to do. But starting off, we have Skousen versus Val, another match where we get treated to double face cam, which is always a treat. This match was also after another match that we're going to be recapping later, where Carmen Lizstar got to show off Draft Spicy Bingo on Games Done Quick. That was a really fun event that happened last week that we're going to recap in the B-tier recap stuff later. But starting off in Skousen vs. Val Game 1, Val spots the immediate very fast center square of scoring 25k in Kit Club. Hi Vex, how's it going? Great to see you. Hope you're doing well. I am happy to be streaming nice and early today. Hopefully we can get through everything we need to get through today. And, yeah. You're well? That's good. Choose is doing okay now, I assume? / hope. So, casually watching through the beginning portion of this game, Skousen and Val are both claiming some very quick spaces that are on this board. Val ends up dedicating a decent amount of time here to UFO in Stage 3. Even when you're playing Seaside fast, unfortunately Stage 3 is pretty far along. And during this time, Skousen was able to block one of the bingos and then also start to set up one of her own bingos down here. Setting up a head-to-head in the tactics, which is always really fun. Unfortunately for Val, this rank 160 battle can be pretty tricky, especially before you get a line of grunt defense at the back. Once you have grunt defense enabled, you can at least kind of normally try to think your way through in advance, but especially since you have to spawn 2 heroes, you can't just conga line rush the victory. So even with someone as experienced in the tactics as Skousen and Val, it is still a challenging goal. Meanwhile, during this time, Val is still trying to claim some quick spaces, although I do unfortunately remember the live comms of this. Val was slightly misinterpreting the wording of that paint chase goal, which just says reach 90 plus score after beating at least 3 levels. So I think he read that as reach 90 score at level 3, and not just reach 90 score anytime after clearing level 3, which unfortunately meant that he quit out there pretty much right before getting that goal, which ended up being a little bit of a time sink, but thankfully for Val, he was a little proactive about levels as well as making progress, and decides to pop back into Paint Chase to try that goal again while Skousen pivots and goes on to another bingo threat. Well, It would be nice to at least know what it is, I guess. It's unfortunate that it didn't just, like, naturally resolve, but at least you potentially have some resolution with it, diagnosis. So, I hope he's able to heal. Shoutouts to Scouts and bouncing back and forth, trying to figure out what to do on Block Walla, by the way. Also, I knew a kitty growing up that also had hyperthyroidism, and he seemed to be pretty okay, so fingers crossed with that as well. Getting back to the bingo match, very close match here, 5-6 with both players' bingo threats pretty much just completely blocked here. Skousen pulling up the VOD for information. Some of these levels in Block Walla can be pretty tricky though, so as Skousen's starting to work through this level, Val is making similar progress in camouflage and needing to get most of the collectibles and levels. The nice thing about the 2 out of 3 collectibles is you can choose whether it's oranges and or babies. Like you can get both the babies, you can get 1 orange and 1 baby, or you can get yeah, so either way you have a little bit of options. Also GG first facts. So looking at this board now, there are a lot of interesting goals still available, but ones that can either take a while, or you may be thinking your opponent is like farther ahead on than you. So Skousen jumps into Overbowl to try to complete 1,000 plus waves without using bombs, which he's able to do, I think, potentially on this next round. And Val is working his way through Night Manor to make the fungicide and potentially parlay it into a cherry. Unfortunately, Skousen does take a late death there. While Val just continues making Night Manor progress, Skousen is working her way through Overbold to tie it up 7-7 and then also go for a pretty quick rock-on goal. This rock-on goal is one that you don't even have to do a full round of rock-on for. Like you typically only have to do like 1 wave or 1 wave worth of setup and then meat farming depending on how you go from there, but I think it's normally a little bit longer than that. Goose has a lot of like very good guides for rock-on that I unfortunately haven't had time to like look over yet, but I've been seeing what she's cooking up in the Discord and it seems very helpful. So with this setup, Skousen should have more than enough money to be able to max upgrade everything and then go up 8-7 and take the tiebreak lead. Val at this point is pretty committed to making the fungicide and potentially even making this into a cherry. This card in particular is not great for cherries, so it wouldn't surprise me if Night Manor was actually one of the better ones available here, because it's basically like Night Manor, Camouflage, Kit Club, Seaside if you wanted to stay in it for like, what, 10 minutes, 15 minutes? Party House, question mark? Trying to look on this board for what cherries are even there, and there are some slim pickings, so definitely understand Val's play here to push this late game synergy, tie it up 8-8. Skousen knows at this point that Val has pretty significant Night Manor progress and is likely busting this into a cherry, especially with the rest of the board looking the way it is. I guess Star Wasper looking at this board. Either way, you have to kind of clutch up with one of the more tricky cherries to bring out in bingo. Shoutouts to Val for the beautiful art. Skousen's going to pop into Party House to try to beat the VIP's only seed of whatever that number combination is, 500,930. Uh, Casually looking at it, and now it looks like a pretty safe seed. You at least have trouble mitigation and a cheap star option and a more expensive, better star option. But I guess perhaps more importantly, Skousen grabbing another quick space that's available, while Val is hopping into Camp 2. Is this just for like a raw Camp 2 cherry? I'm trying to see what else this would be on the board. I guess gift, potentially. I guess this would probably more likely be a gift, and I guess if you can do a Camp 2 cherry, you might as well. But he doesn't have a scroll anyway, so I guess it's just a gift, yeah. So Skousen jumps up 10 to 8 here. Val is looking to be pretty ahead on gifts, so that'll soon be a 10 to 9 lead. But Skousen's going to be able to use this lead to slightly stay ahead of Val here. And then jump up to 11 to 8 as Skousen gets to spend a bunch of time in Warp Tank. Definitely a very quick game for Puzzler, because in this game you can beat levels very quickly. And honestly, Puzzler is actually an interesting general goal. There are some quick options, but you have to be good at games that are hard to do quick. Like even Block Wall is hard to do like on command, and especially without the guides and stuff. And Warp Tank is a very intricate speedrun, having learned it myself. But Val is able to get a double mark there. I missed what the second mark there was, boss raid. So tying it up almost, and with 40 minutes left, this is definitely a game that is looking like it could come down to time. And with Val effectively having the cherry space once he dedicates to it, since he has a pretty significant advantage. Just needs to figure out how to navigate the end of the game, while Skousen is torn between finishing Puzzler and trying to clear out the other spaces on the board here. But after getting Puzzler, Skousen commits to the longest goal on the board and just settles into Fistel, while Val would basically need Antarctica, 2 cherry discs, and Fistel at this point. And understandably, while Val is making a good effort here, and does actually get pretty far into Fistel on the attempted snipe, just isn't quite able to catch up to Skousen, who wins 13 to 11 in game 1. And then, as y'all may know by now, A-Tier plays back-to-back games, so this was game 2, which was played after a short intermission here. So, in game 2, we start off with a similarly fast and fiery start, so I just won't skip through anything here while we get to watch both players play. There are 2 pilot quest squares on this board, so very understandable for Val to immediately go for that before going for a pretty quick Waldorf square. This is a new square this season where you have to enter the palace without collecting any puffins. Which is actually surprisingly difficult to do, because you'd be surprised how many times you just launch yourself and then accidentally land on a puffin. But some very efficient bug hunter into some very efficient hotfoot into some very efficient Waldorf means that we get to mark off a lot of spaces really quickly in this game. This is one of those games that I'm glad that we just get to chill and play at 4x, because there's a lot going on. And Val, using his warm-up of Night Manor from the previous game, is going to feel pretty comfortable getting through this double Night Manor synergy, which is effectively the exact goals that he just did, but in a slightly different order. So neither player directly pushing bingos in the early portion of this game, as both are just trying to get board presence before starting to push stuff. Like here we do see Val potentially pushing a middle column bingo, but Skousen at this point is, well, before that was interested in getting her own spaces, but now is just going to pop into Magic Garden for a potential quick space, and also Magic Garden is just a general good bingo game to go into, so if there's any reason to go into it for like more than one thing, then you definitely do. Shoutouts to the comms there, by the way, where Guri was convinced that Val quit out of Kit Club after a long thinking about the character selection and just couldn't decide. So, in like the first 10 minutes of this game, we have Val with the Meat Shack online, which opens up both those Pilot Quest squares as well. And unfortunately for Skousen, she does get a little hecked up by Magic Garden here. Magic Garden is a game that theoretically is really fast for bingo, but I think has some pretty big risk associated with it, just because it is a game where the floppies can be kind of difficult to work around, and you still do have to like be careful in a game of Magic Garden for bingo, while also having the pressure of like thinking that your opponent is in the game because it's so fast. So while Skousen is working on these spaces, the game is tied 3-3, but Val is doing a pretty good job this game of grabbing double synergies and working on progress. So here we will see him grab the money from the burned house, and then save progress for later, as Grimstone saves progress, so he effectively is daring Skousen at this point to try to make extra progress in Grimstone, since he already has a decent amount. But definitely just pushing advantage in this game. Skousen's at this point pretty dedicated to blocking this middle column bingo, which gives Val the freedom to go into whatever he wants to here. And I've mentioned in a couple of recaps so far that I personally think that the center square this season is, at least in the game so far, proven to be a little less impactful. But this is one of those games that kind of runs counter to that and shows how important center square is, because even though Val's not currently pushing it, he does also have that diagonal bingo that can theoretically be worked on. And once he is able to go into this uncontested Night Manor square, has another diagonal that's being worked on, including a diagonal that like already has Pilot Quest progress on it. So that's why you're seeing Skousen jump into this Lords of Disconia goal here to try to block that diagonal. And Disconia can either be a really quick game or a really long game. Thankfully for Skousen, it was a really quick one this time. And while Val is up 7-5 and soon to be 8-5, because he should have above 60% completion pretty soon, if not like already. Skousen's going to be working on Kit Club to eat 10 desserts, which typically gets you most of the way through World 2. This one is a admittedly pretty tricky goal to track sometimes, because unless you're like paying Hawkeye attention to the score, it's sometimes difficult to see if the stuff's been grabbed, like even as a player, let alone as a caster or anything. But this level halfway through is the earliest you can get 10 desserts. And with that, Skousen is effectively blocking quite a lot of these bingos, and is just going to stay in a little bit longer to defeat 2 bosses, which will also block the row 2 bingo that Val started. But seemingly one step ahead this game, Val's already threatening that final bingo. Ooh, what's the bottom things? Oh, cool.
outgoing mail slot thing is broken, so now I have to write a note because I have extra keys to the number 1.
Oh.
And I'll just leave it in there so people can just break into that whenever they want.
Yeah, that's not great. So I guess seeing that bingo threat for what it's worth, we do have a head-to-head Mortal 2 keys race here. This ends up being a pretty important race since it's both advancing Skousen's last bingo and blocking one of Val's last bingos. But Skousen is unfortunately just a little bit behind on that, and then suddenly is in a position where she has to very much defend 3 potential bingo lines at the same time, with column 2, the diagonal, and the bottom. Shoutouts to Val for turning around the entire camera to look at the notes for this goal. So at this point in the match, Skousen is behind by 3, but I think more importantly is just trying to make sure that all the bingos get blocked. Yes, that is Bun in the background. She was checking the mail and just got back in.
Hi.
Vex says that he responded to you on Discord.
Okay.
Thank you, Vex. So, as Skousen sees that get marked off and goes down 10-6, she now knows that even with this Amy block that she is working towards, she's going to immediately have to hop into 2 levels and 6 games on this card to block the remaining bingos. Val, at this point, can either choose to use all these bingo pressures to just open whatever games he wants, or try to push for the diagonal bingo here.
Note with those keys, and then I will be back.
Okay.
For list.
Sounds good. Shoutouts to the longest Bushido ball volleys of all time, including this one that's still going, even at 4x speed. Val losing his mind on that one. I think that was the one that was like the super long one that barely fit into a clip at regular speed. So Skousen is able to block with Amy, which does block 2 bingos, but then basically just forces her immediately into trying to defend the diagonal while also making progress elsewhere. At this point, she would need 3 to tie and then 1 to take the lead before Val gets another space. So Val, knowing this, is just going to go ahead and rush some cherries. Both Bushido Ball and Mortal 2 are very fast cherries, and definitely makes sense to do. Skousen then switches to trying to catch up on cherries, but is a little bit behind here. So at this point in the game, Val is just kind of figuring out how he wants to close it out. Skousen saves the bingo attempt by beating 2 levels, while Val is trying to figure out what other gifts he can get on the card and another space to end the game. Shoutouts to Skousen for blocking all of the bingo attempts in this game, because there were a lot of bingo lines that she had to defensively play against. But fortunately for Val, he's just able to ride this advantage as the game eventually goes up 12-8, which at this point Skousen would need every single space on the board. And unfortunately for Skousen, she's not able to do that as Val cleans up with gifts and wins 13-8. So another A-tier head-to-head where both players were split in the games. Very good, very close games overall, and not shockingly very fun to watch. Okay, so we have 2 more games from A tier, and then we will be moving to B1. I'll probably take a quick break when we get to B1 so I can have a dab and change my water and stuff, but oh wait, this is Cosmo versus Kini. I need Spooty versus Kini.
Oh, Bex, I got your test.
Okay, so game 1 of Kini versus Spooty. Kini was able to pick up a 13-10 win here. Definitely. Oh, that's okay. So starting off for both players, there's good double synergy in both the games they're going for. Kini going for double Valgress, while Spooty's going for double Mortal 2. Both really quick bingo games. Mortal 2 is a little bit more consistent in my opinion, but Valgress trades off for that with potentially really, really good speed. As we see here with Kini, able to grab one of the Valgress squares and then pop back in for a coin heavy round to presumably grab the other one, while Spooty is working through the boss goal, basically trying to defeat all the bosses without damaging them as Bomber. Thankfully you can lock them in a corner and slash them with Warrior a lot. And Kini with 54 coins is just barely able to afford that shop. It's a pretty expensive one, but does eventually set up a head-to-head in Mortal 2. As Spooty is making pretty significant progress on both Mortal 2 goals. Has a lot of damage on the mini bosses and is also pretty close to activating the switches. During this time, Kini actually does come pretty close to catching up on this, for what it's worth. It's a little bit hung up on that boss right there, and is pretty close to killing the third one before Spooty gets the double mark and heads into Wasper. During this time, we will try to see Spooty clear wave 3. A very fast but very dangerous goal. One that even Star Wasper players agree is a pretty hard goal to get consistently. Kini bouncing around, just getting quick spaces. Grabbing that Star Wasper goal that I didn't even see until there. So getting good double synergy with Wasper even if you aren't able to make it to wave 3. Which during this run, Spooty's at 3 lives and fully kitted out. Still tough to guarantee a Star Wasper clear 3 or wave 3 clear, because the second you fall behind it can be pretty overwhelming. But Spooty doing a good job here of recovering after taking a death, clearing out stuff, getting back up to full power, and getting in position where he should just be able to nuke the mini boss with a bomb and good to go. So tied 3-3. and then eventually 4-3 as Keeney grabs the center square. Within the first 13 minutes, by the way, we are 4-3, which is pretty typical A-tier pace, but still worth mentioning because it is very impressive. We are going to see Spooty try to play on through the Star Wasper Gold Disc / Cherry Disc. I believe this one actually will be a cherry based on the score here. Yep. Very nice. Star Wasper Cherry is not a very common cherry to get in bingo, so it's always really cool to see when it happens. So during that, Spooty was also able to get a bunch of bosses for the Star Wasper Cherry, and is just going to clean up bosses along with some Alphazar's Hat goals that synergize well with it. Keeney, meanwhile, is just blasting around the board, grabbing a bunch of quick spaces. Spooty's keeping pace, and 17 minutes into the match, it's 5-5. And this is what I've noticed with A-tier matches, is stuff happens so fast that I quite often barely have the time to not just watch everything and talk over it at 4x speed. Although thank you again to everyone who uploaded to YouTube, because I can actually watch this at 4x speed and it makes a huge difference apparently. I did not realize how slow it was watching stuff at 2x on Twitch until what was it, Tuesday I did this last recap on. But at this point in the game, the only bingos that are left are an unclaimed top row bingo and a column 2 bingo from Keeney. So it makes sense to try to make some progress during the meantime. Hey Zachary, how's it going? Good to see you. We are almost done with A tier, and then we have a pretty lengthy B1 recap including the GDQ stuff, and then most of a B2 stuff. If we end up not getting to B2 today, it's actually probably not the end of the world, because there are a couple of matches that are happening in a couple of days that we might get to recap. But during that time, we got a very, very close race from Spooty to block that last major bingo threat with Onion Delivery. Really close head-to-head into a really close head-to-head in Party House. This Party House... Oh, it's just Amy. I'm not sure why I couldn't read Amy on this board for some reason, but both players are popping into Party House to try to get a quick clear of everything for Amy potentially, while also synergizing with other stuff. This is theoretically a board where Party House Cherry could be possible with, depending on what else there is to go for, but probably wouldn't be wise given that Mortal 2 and even Night Manor and stuff are on the board. During that last Party House race, by the way, Keeney ran into an issue that is pretty common with these Party House goals, where you need to like set up a win condition before you win, where they unfortunately just won before the scenario was done, so their round was over, so that's why we saw them pivot out and try to make some Night Manor progress. A lot of the times on Season 3 boards, I've noticed if there is a Night Manor goal that's forcing you to get pretty far into the game anyway, you are going to see players kind of just extended into a cherry most of the time. But you also don't have to do that until later in the game, so... Yeah, with Party House appearing on the board in addition to Amy, we do get to see a lot of Party House this match, which isn't always the most common for A tier, because as much as I love Party House, it is kind of an inconsistent game for bingo, and even in the quote-unquote free scenarios, you still have to be like careful that you're not rushing it too fast and stuff. But with the pace this match is going, about to be tied 8-8, assuming Keeney is able to collect the coin from the bonus game. 34 minutes into the match, players are definitely just blasting through goals here, and the only remaining bingo threat in this match is Keeney's top row, which is not the most consistent top row threat, so at this point in the match you definitely are presumably just trying to grab whatever quick spaces are left on the board while you still can. Spoody's busting out the Eddie Urchies for quick cherry, presumably, while Keeney is going into Avianos. We have more Avianos goals this season than last, where you can use the level select code to get farther into the game and do stuff. And this is one of those, although I can't actually read here what the space is. When the adult campaign with a blessing from each ancestor, okay. Okay. So during this time of Keeney catching up in spaces, Spoody's been working on the Hotfoot Cherry, which to this point has been going pretty consistently, but unfortunately for Spoody, very quickly this robot can get out of hand, and while it is 12 to 8, Spoody unfortunately takes 2 hits back to back and loses the cherry, so quits out. And at this point is pretty clearly cherry rushing, but just needs a potential cherry. This also synergizes with Amy, so it makes sense to try to grab double spaces while you can. Keeney is also cherry rushing here though, and is a little bit closer. I'm not gonna lie, I missed what the first one was, but a couple of pretty strong options for cherries this game. Oh, it's Waldorf, right? Yeah, you got Waldorf, Mortal 2, and Velgris. This is definitely a pretty fast board for cherries. Cherry Rush mention, boom, boom, boom. So at this point, Spoody is up 11 to 9 and gets Lamia locked in the corner here, and will be able to go up 12 to 9. And then at this point in the game, Keeney would need every single space on the board left, and effectively at this point, if you're Keeney, this is just a guessing game on what Spoody's going to be going for first. Still definitely enough time to get all of these remaining spaces, because all of these theoretically can be done somewhat quickly, but Spoody makes the correct decision of going into ants for This Is It, and is going to take a little bit of time to just map out the spider luring over here. Definitely very important on this goal to try to cut off this right base as soon as possible, and while you're working on the right base, build up your army and kind of go up and around yourself. Keeney taking the correct assumption that Spoody is working on one of the hard and long goals, but is unfortunately incorrect on which one Spoody's going for. And after a couple of minutes, Spoody is able to win 13 to 10. Keeney does grab the golf area square, but unfortunately just didn't have enough time to come back in that one. Okay, so the final game of A tier for week 2 is Keeney versus Spoody. If this is a surprising board, don't worry, it was also a surprising game. But Spoody is able to pick up a 5-2 win here. So we'll go ahead and show how that happened. Once again, after a short intermission, players are playing back-to-back games, so this is the second game of the set. And right away, we see triple Cyber Owl synergy, so we're going to see a very strong head-to-head. Beat Moscow, clear Moscow with 1200 plus score, and Revolutionary makes this an extremely strong starting space for both players. Keeney then opts to back out and goes for a pretty tricky strategy here. So Keeney will be attempting to get the bottom row bingo without marking anything, and assuming that Spooty will be working on his own stuff here, they will be quietly working in the background on their own and try to just mark all of this off at once. So the reason why I say that is because Keeney gets the block koala square and then immediately holds it, which is a pretty intense hold to do in the beginning portion of a match where your opponent theoretically could be there as well. Keeney making the correct call that Spooty is opting for the triple Cyber Owls synergy here, and will maybe not see that bottom row as a threat, and correct to Keeney's assumption, Spooty goes into Magic Garden to get other double synergy. This board synergizes really well for double ups, and Keeney kind of playing some big chess mind games here is taking advantage of how synergistic this board is to work on something that is hidden and kind of in the background here. So Keeney is able to defeat the Stage B boss and hop in for a Waldorf Cherry Disc, while Spooty is working on Magic Garden and gonna clear out both of these for the gold disc. At this point, it is only 8 minutes into a match, so theoretically Keeney could just be in one goal and struggling a little bit, but I'm sure Spooty is on edge as to why Keeney hasn't marked anything off yet. So Spooty, reading that the bottom row might potentially be a threat, is going to hop into a tactics and read that Keeney most likely has not been in block koala beating 3 levels for 10 minutes. Is going to stay in for tactics to reach Lieutenant. Keeney is working on the Waldorf Cherry, and at this point in the match, obviously Keeney has no way of knowing that Spooty is in a tactics right now. Still assumes that the bottom bingo is still relatively hidden here, but unfortunately for them, Spooty sniffs it out almost immediately, and does have a little bit of a tricky battle at rank 40, but is able to go to rank 50 and down 5-2 with a head-to-head and Waldorf. Keeney opts for the forfeit after 13 minutes and ends the game. So Keeney's main goal that game obviously was to try to get that bottom row bingo and hide it from Spooty. Had Spooty read that threat differently and went in the same order as Keeney, that could have been an absolutely devastating bingo. But fortunately for Spooty and unfortunately for Keeney, Spooty read it like a book and just kind of blocked with a clean tactics goal that Keeney hadn't even started yet. So not even really a victim of the hold necessarily, but once that was sniffed out, Keeney was at a pretty early score deficit and wasn't gonna come back in that one. So GG's to y'all. That does wrap up A tier for week 2. We'll go ahead and show off the weekly stats now, because we have some new leaders. Halfway through week 3, Cyber Owls is our new head game for goals completed, followed by Paint Chase, which is pretty wild, honestly, because Paint Chase was not anywhere near this popular last season, and I feel like I see it on every board and actually gone for on every board. Followed by Bug Hunter, Camouflage, Mortal 2, Valbrace, Hotfoot, Seaside Drive, Hyper Contender, Magic Garden, Night Manor, and Mooncat for the 18 or for the goals that have been completed at least 18 times. Down at the bottom, we still have Avianos. Coming in at a new second to last is Planet Zoldath. which at least as of the logged matches is like almost never attempted in the higher tiers. That's really funny. Friendly reminder that these stats are based off of everything that has a YouTube link though, so that may be incorrect and they may not even be anywhere near that low, but yeah. We
Just
do.
another incentive to upload your shit to YouTube.
That's true.
So
Thank you.
our stats can be accurate.
That's true.
We do have accurate statistics.
It's true, we do.
What if we wanted to do an ANOVA and your statistics were not in there?
That's
We
true.
probably could not do an ANOVA with this data. In fact, I guarantee we could not. But
I
like,
guarantee you.
it's the only the only stats word that I could think of.
I understand you a little bit.
What if we wanted to know the standard deviation
That's true.
and your deviation was not in there?
So before I set up B tier stuff, just looking through this new tab that actually has stuff on it. The goal stats here are based off of all of the times these goals have been completed and logged and match. So as you might imagine, most of the goals that are completed most often are easies and mediums. Actually, a surprising amount of quick mediums, honestly. And a couple of very quick and consistent hards.
No, I want standard deviations for all the games.
We'll figure it out.
I could be your stats girl.
You could be the stats girly.
Ooh.
Bone's excited to do stats now, yo. How exciting.
I've left PSS for a little while longer.
Might as well. Alrighty, so I'm gonna go ahead and take a quick break as I set up for B1 stuff. I guess I am just gonna put it on. Well, no, I guess I can't really put it on a BRB. I'm gonna go ahead and mute so I can have a dab and stuff. Yes, please feel free to touch up these stats. Block Koala especially is not being tracked very well right now because it's literally just doing a count if it matches the cell, basically. Which works for goals like Caramel will score 50k points because it's exactly worded that way every time. But like if the gold name gets changed or if it's like Block Koala where it's tokenized, it's not tracking it super well right now. So yeah. It's okay.
There's always a new one.
There is always a new one. But I will go ahead and mute and we'll get set up for B tier stuff and I'll be right back. In the meantime, I think there's like 2 or 3 matches that are happening, so feel free to check those out.